Hello and welcome to the HumanTech Train the Trainer. I will leave off my camera for this event just because my internet is not stable. Um, and today I will go through the HumanTech project, what it involves, why it's important, and the training we are providing from this. So just share screen. So hopefully you can see that okay. So again, welcome to the Train the Trainer. I am Martin Breen from the Technological University of the Shannon in Ireland. Please feel free to reach out with any questions you may have to the Technological University of the Shannon or anyone within the HumanTech project. So what we're going to cover today, we'll have an overview of the HumanTech project, the benefits of the HumanTech project, and then, of course, the modules which we will be providing following this training. So the main challenges facing the construction sector, as highlighted within the project, are slow technology adaptation, worker safety and protection, shortage of skilled workers and lack of digital skills, and finally, insufficient use of resources. So our main aim is to achieve major advances beyond the current state of the art in all these technologies that can have a disruptive effect in the way construction is conducted by a new generation of highly skilled male and female construction workers and engineers working in a safe and rewarding digitally enabled environment. So the three main areas that we have identified for the HumanTech solutions around digitalization of the construction industry are robotic devices equipped with vision and intelligence, smart unobtrusive workers protection and support equipment, a new breed of dynamic semantic digital twins, um, and these kind of all join together to deal with worker safety and sustainability as well. So worker safety is vital when looking at the construction sector in order to bring in new construction workers, to reduce risk, to reduce time away from the construction site. So digitalization can be used to support the safety on construction sites. So HumanTech proposes a human-centered approach involving breakthrough technologies in order to bridge the gaps in safety that currently exist. So within our innovations, we aim to increase the adaptation of exoskeletons by 10 times, by 10%, by 10, um, decrease worker injuries by 30%, reduce waste and CO2 emissions by 20%, decrease safety inspection times by 50%, and identification rate of fall hazards at 90% using HumanTech dynamic semantic digital twins. So here you can see the 22 partners across 10 countries, and it's a 36-month project. We are now going into our last year. So there again, you can see the partners involved in this. So you have partners from across Europe, as I said. You can see the Technological University of the Shannon there. So just to say before we kick off with looking through the modules, this is for workers within the construction sector, for trainers, for vet centers, for educators. This training that I'm providing right now, this webinar, is for the trainers and educators, and we would urge you to integrate this into the work that you're carrying out yourself, into the training that you might already be carrying out with professionals from everything to plumbers, engineers, architects, block layers, whatever it may be. It's important to remember that you do not need to carry out all 10 of these modules. You only need to take what's important to you. You can take aspects of some of them and integrate them. They're all obviously quite important and they're new and cutting edge in many ways. And there are case study examples from the project itself. So these are quite good modules to show and demonstrate what can be done. Each module is about 30 to 40 minutes long, with a recommendation that the last 20 minutes of an hour will be spent either in discussion around how this can be implemented within the students' work or the professionals' work, or through activities by applying these topics to your current work or your current role, or looking at case studies, some of which are provided within the PowerPoints. So again, this is really important stuff. It's vital to implement this within the construction sector in order to progress further and will increase knowledge and awareness around digitalization in the long term. I will also say that following this training, you will get the modules. You'll receive them and you can edit them as you wish. You can implement them or integrate them into your own work. You will also receive a pre and post survey. We would ask that if you are using the modules within your work, that you would use the HumanTech emblem or logo and complete the pre and post course surveys for us to get feedback and understand what can be done better and what can be improved and how this is sitting with the people you're educating. So without further ado, I will go through the 10 modules. So the first module is digitalization and human tech. Within this module, we cover an introduction to digitalization and why it's important within the construction sector, the benefits of human tech, and then the human tech activities, so going through the pilot sites there. Upon completion of this module, each of these modules has a ULO, and upon completion of this first one, you will have a general understanding of digitalization and the Human Tech project and how to implement these learnings. Module 2 then is green technology and construction. In this, you cover an introduction to sustainability in the construction sector, so things like circular economy, reduced waste, reduced emissions, things like that, and then how the digitalization and processes of the Human Tech project can be applied for a greener industry. Module 3 then is BIM fundamentals. This goes through an introduction to BIM and then BIM users. So this is quite a detailed introduction to how to use BIM for things like clash detection and similar. This is a really interesting module and has a lot of information. The module following this is BIM fundamentals for designers and on-site. So this takes the learnings from the previous module and implements it on site and how you can use it as a designer or a creator or on site. So the first section of this deals with how BIM can be implemented by designers, which is quite common, and how BIM can be implemented for on-site workers, which is slightly less common and is vital for the progress of the construction sector. Module 5 then is BIM management. So this has quite a lot. It's information heavy and may not be the best for an activity, but would lead to a very interesting discussion, I would think. So you have an introduction to BIM management, which is just an overview. And then again, you do not need to do every single one of these. If you are training this, you can take sections and implement it into the work that you are doing. So the first of these is common data environments. Then we have cloud coordination, BIM on cloud. Then we have international foundation class or IFC. We've reference architecture, which was developed within the Human Tech project and is a really interesting study. And then we have building smart data dictionaries. Module 6 then deals with digital twins. And within this module, you have an introduction to what digital twins are. You then look at automated semantic digital twins, which we are developing further in the project. So that's a really interesting one for us. And then how Human Tech pilot examples of digital twins kind of work on site. So a really good example there and a really interesting topic to look at for any professional. We also then have a module on UAVs and UGVs, so unmanned air vehicles and unmanned ground vehicles. So each of those have their own section within this. So you've the introduction to both and then the pilot examples. And again, there's some really interesting work being done on this, looking into applying mastics and things like that on site. Module 8 then is extended reality and exoskeletons. And again, you have an introduction to extended reality there first and an introduction to exoskeletons following that. And then some really interesting case studies done within the Human Tech project. Module 9 then is robotics and construction. And again, you have an introduction to robotics, how robotics can then be applied within the construction sector, how robotics can be applied specifically on site then, and then finally looking at how Human Tech is making this, is developing this further past the current state of the art. And finally, our last module is on cameras, mounting on robotics, drones, and wearables. So here we look at the introduction of to 360 cameras and their application within the construction sector. We have some really, really interesting work done there. We have some partners across the world internationally involved in this, and some really fantastic things have been done. We then looked at sensors and LiDAR on site and how they're used, and then finally piloting that within the Human Tech pilots. So again, each one of these modules is a kind of introduction to these topics. This can be applied to case studies that you're looking at. This can be edited. This can be like you'll get them as PDFs and be able to edit them yourselves. You will have the pre and post course survey, as I said. And then I will just quickly show you before we finish up here the one of the final modules here. So as I said, you have I'll just flick through this very quickly. You have your introduction, then you have the introduction to the topic, and then some information around that topic. You have a section for further reading. This is where you would add your own information around what your group might be specializing in, or say if it's plumbers or engineers or whatever, you may have more facts you want to introduce there, or where you would integrate your assignment or activity. Then obviously we have the application of robotics on site. And again, this goes through all of that information. And finally, then the completion of that module. So they are quite short. There is a lot of information in them. So it's again, it's important to have discussion and applying them to your specific case there. So thank you very much. And please expect these in the coming few days in your emails. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you.